both of us get to see behind the scenes, or behind the curtains on people's lives. We get a level of honesty that's not common in normie society. I'm curious, what have you learned about humans and human nature, getting that backroom access?
Yeah, I think thematically, one thing that comes up over and over in my work, at least, and I work with a lot of complex trauma, developmental trauma, relational trauma, is this abandonment of self, right?
Maybe go into that. I'm curious to hear what that means exactly.
So I think what that means and what I've learned is that people come up with all these, well, we can call them management strategies that really mask for, however way, what they're really feeling. And so maybe what really drew me to somatic is that it enhances that connection to self in a way that I personally have not experienced in a different modality. And it's hard work. And it feels quite unfamiliar. To the point that it can really almost feel like too much. So we really have to titrate, especially in the beginning, what it's like to really notice the sensations and how you're feeling, and then the things that can come up with that have been buried for so long.
So in terms of what you've learned about people, that many people have abandoned the true self.
Yes.
But there's a way back. Are most people able to get into access with the thing they've lost?
Yes, I think so. And Peter Levine actually puts it, I think, quite beautifully, where he says something like, I work with essence, the essence of the human. I don't know if you get this question. Sometimes I get this question, like, what's it like to work with trauma all day? That must be like a really hard job. And sometimes it is, but for the most part, when you think of the bigger picture, it's such an honor, it's such a privilege to be able to facilitate, guide. I mean, really the client is the one doing all the work, and to allow them to, even if it's just for a glimpse in the beginning, recapture that, like, oh, this is the essence of me. There's this spark inside. And when we see it, and I'm sure you see it in session too, it is the coolest thing. And it's so gratifying. So, yeah.
So it's not as hard to work with trauma as people project.
100%.
Huh.
Working in this way for me, because there's such a resonance that develops, so we feel it, right? As SC practitioners, we feel it, and it doesn't feel as hard.
Yes, I feel like I won the lottery. I lucked out in some huge way. That work just feels like flow. Yeah, sometimes there are difficult flows, but it never has the feeling of my old work, where there's always a way, there's always the next intervention, the next piece of work that unfolds.
Yes.
To get to your question of if I experience that, and I think I have a nice story that illustrates this, which is being called into a company I worked for in a finance role, but now in a coaching role.
Okay.
And one of the employees there who brought me into the situation said she had found out in some of my writing, I described maybe feeling like I wore a straitjacket, or I was cheese grating my soul, or that it was toxic to my organism to be there and burned me out. And so she was apologizing for bringing me back in a coaching role, and hoping that she wasn't reintroducing me to some toxic situation.
Mm-hmm.
And my response was, now I'm in the business of toxicity.
Right.
It's night and day. All of that had to be suppressed before as a layer of experience that couldn't be voiced, couldn't be worked through. But that now in my new role, that is the grist for the mill, and being in the transformation of toxicity into life is everything to me, and it's exactly where I want to be. But put me back in the old role there, and I would be having a terrible time of it.
Yeah.
So I do think the frame of the work, being on the side of life and biology,
Yes.
makes a big difference in terms of even similar environments, similar businesses, similar people, but you can get very different outcomes depending on what the intention and the frame are.
Yes, 100%. And what was coming up for me as you were sharing that is how wonderful it must be to have that larger perspective now, rather than that kind of, I don't know what I was getting, I don't know if this fits on the inside for you, but it was like that trapped, like constricted, and to know, really, I could see it, this sense of like, there's something larger, there's this greater purpose, and it's connected to actually how I feel as a human.
Yes,
So.
I think of it as collapsing into the concrete,
Yeah.
where all your problems become rigid and there's no more leverage, and you get smaller and smaller. I think there's a little bit of resonance with shamanic work. We hold a space of potential and
Yes.
of enchantment and of mystery and a little bit of magic, and
Yeah.
it's beautiful when you see the moment of moving from that fixed, trapped place to one of more space, more looseness, potential.
100%. Right? Because it's hard to feel traumatized when we realize we have options. We have choice, we have agency.